believe it's time for us to begin this morning. I'm using a different mic today, so if we have to adjust a little bit, we're just going to do that. So I actually kind of like it this way. Before we begin our class this morning, let's go to God in prayer. God, we're thankful to you for the day that you've blessed us with, a beautiful day, a day that we're allowed to assemble here at this place to worship you, to study from your word. We're thankful, God, for what you've done for us, the way that you love us, that you take care of us. Be with us, God, as we study your word, that we will gain these truths that we may apply daily in our lives. And may we always go about seeking to do good to everyone and to try to bring as many people into your fold as possible. In Christ's name, amen. All right. Today, I guess you could say the title would be Jacob's Theft of Esau's Blessing. So, I'm going to pose a question. And you don't have to answer it right now. Kind of think about it a little bit. And the question is this: just because God knows the future and tells the future, does he condone the way we act in the future? All right. You mean I got to repeat that again? So, just because God knows the future, and sometimes will share that, does that mean that he condones the way we act in the future? You got a deer in the headlight look there. All right, so here's where I'm going with this. I'll be right there, Luke. You remember how God said when Rebekah went to him inquiring of what was going on in her womb. And God told her that there's two nations and that the older will serve the younger. You remember that, right? And we're looking today about some more of that same type of thing. We in 27 today. Yeah. So God predicted the future there that said the older will serve the younger. Does that mean that he condoned the way Jacob and Rebekah's going to do it? That's the question. That's right. There's two nations in there. So y'all think about that a little bit as we're going through this. Blue?
Well, it's being added that.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But what to do, I always pray through the Holy Spirit to God to direct me in which way he wanted me to
Right.
go.
Yes, sir.
That's the same thing that I was going to say. This instance right here, just take this one. If Rebecca and Jacob would have just let God handle it,
Yeah.
we're talking about, let the Holy Spirit, whatever, and not try to meddle. They thought they could fix it,
Mm-hmm.
by lying
How often do we do that? Not necessarily lying in deceit, but thinking we got to help God. And that's the whole point. So, yeah. And you see it time and time again. You know, so anyway, just kind of be thinking about that as we go through this chapter today. Now it came to pass when Isaac was old and that his eyes were so dim that he could not see, that he called Esau his older son and said to him, "My son?" And he answered, "Here I am." Then he said, "Behold, now I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now therefore, please take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. And make me savory food such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die." Did that mean that Isaac knew that his death was imminent, like in the next short period of time?
I think he did live several more years.
A long time.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Maybe in his mind, he thought that he was much nearer death. But I think he wanted to go ahead and have this blessing done, since he didn't know when he's going to die. Do what? While he's able to. Yeah. Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to Esau his son. There she was, eavesdropping in a perfectly private conversation between a daddy and his son. And Rebekah is slipping around the corner listening, ain't she? Then Esau went to the field to hunt game and bring it. So Rebekah spoke to Jacob her son, saying, "Indeed, I heard your father speak to Esau your brother, saying, Bring me game and make savory food for me, that I may eat it and bless you in the presence of the Lord before my death." Here's where the web starts to form. "Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to what I command you. Go now to the flock and bring me from there 2 choice kids of the goats, and I will make savory food from them for your father, such as he loves." Now, do you remember in the chapter before, was it the chapter before? No, it was 2 chapters ago, where Jacob has been established as a pretty good cook. He was a good enough cook that Esau came in and said, "Hey, how about giving me a bowl of that? Because I'm fitting to die." And you remember what Jacob told him? Yeah, absolutely. "I'll be more than happy to give you a bowl of this in exchange for your birthright." So apparently Jacob was a pretty good cook in his own right. So you kind of wonder maybe sometimes why Rebekah decided she needed to do this. Well, I think the reason there is, in this plot, there was no room for mistakes at all. She knew exactly what spices to put, exactly what to do, exactly the way Isaac liked it. So she's going to do that this time. The one and only time I ate goat, I don't think it was hard to make it taste wild, because it was. I didn't like it. It just wasn't my thing.
That was their own goats or what they were.
Yeah.
It was not wild hog or whatever.
Yeah. So, but you know, wild stuff it has a different flavor, and so forth to it. So she knew. Well, the savory food part, I think, is a clue we can look up on too. Is knowing what spices and so forth to put in there to make it where it tastes like what they want.
So Esau was the cook of the bunch, right?
All right, so
He was supposed to be out hunting. So he couldn't
so yeah, apparently Esau too was knew how to prepare game and to cook it, so forth. That's at least, yeah.
at this time, so he couldn't do it. It had to be Rebecca.
So I think the plan was Esau was going to go hunt and kill it, skin it, you know, whatever he does to it, and fix it for his daddy. But Rebecca is going to do this with these goats, and she's not going to ask Jacob to cook it. She's going to do it herself.
I don't understand why they didn't tell their father that he sold his birthright. I don't understand that. Why didn't he say, well, you know what? Your son sold his birthright to me.
I imagine Isaac did that.
I think he did too.
I didn't say that, but I'm just,
You know, we're not told in Scripture that, you know, that there was ever a conversation had about that. It was kind of almost like a, you know, at the end of that passage was, you know, kind of like that was the end of it. But you had to wonder if what Isaac thought about that.
also, Ken, I mean, he was going to bless Esau, no matter what, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit confusing in that, and that might be what, we're talking about. Maybe Isaac didn't know.
Well, here's the other thing I think we see here too. We see where Isaac heavily favors Esau, and we see where Rebekah heavily favors Jacob. They had favorites, and you know that was a recipe for disaster in itself. To show that you favored this son more than this son.
Mama favored the youngest son most, and daddy favored the oldest.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. That absolutely gives way to a power struggle in that. So, all right, and then verse 10, then you shall take it to your father that he may eat it, that he may bless you before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, look, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. You know, I mean, so he's asking his mom, it's like, how you figure we're going to do this? Because you know he's going to feel me. In verse 12, perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be a deceiver to him, and I shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing. So he was very concerned that he was going to get caught in what was going on. That he would be implicated in this, and rather than having the blessing, which was a very big deal for them in this day and age, then he would get a curse, which would be a completely opposite thing.
He was not afraid to do it. He was afraid of getting caught.
Exactly, Tony. He wasn't scared to go do it. He was afraid of getting caught.
Yeah, well, that thing was, he could say, well, my mother told me to.
Yeah. Mama put me up to it, you know. How many times today do you see sometimes people are only sorry about something when they get caught?
Oh, yeah.
Everything was fine while you were doing all this, but you got caught. Now you're sorry for getting caught.
All the time in Washington.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, every time.
Every day.
The way she tried to ease him off about it was that mother said unto him, upon me be thy curse.
Mm-hmm.
Not on them laid up horses.
As Flip Wilson always said, the devil made me.
Devil made me do it. Yeah. So yeah, what she's saying to him, in verse 13 is what we're referring to there. But his mother said to him, "Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go get them for me." So she was telling Jacob, "Don't worry about that. I got that part. I'll handle this. I'll deal with that. You do what I tell you to do." So, you know, it kind of is, it makes you wonder, really, who wanted this worse? Who wanted this blessing worse?
Wanted it worse.
Did Jacob or Rebekah want it worse? Because she is really pulling out all the stops here to make this happen. And I have to wonder, really, if, you know, she goes back to thinking about what God told her before these two boys were born. If she said, "Well, I'm going to make sure that this what God."
There's another instance,
Yeah.
we trying to make up God's mind for him.
Right.
If this had not happened, okay, God would have worked it out somehow.
Yes, he would have, and that's the whole point.
The promise had already been made.
Yeah.
That through Jacob, the Lord would come. You know, so that was going to happen no matter what.
It was, Tony. That's it. And you know, that is exactly the point. Is that God has in His plan what He will do, and what He does not need is what? Our help.
I still don't understand why he didn't say that Jacob sold his birthright to me.
I don't know.
I don't understand that.
I don't-
That doesn't make sense to me.
I don't.
Then they didn't have to do all this lying and stuff.
Yeah. So, of course, now, keep in mind that the birthright and the blessing were actually two different things. The birthright was what they actually got, just, you know, as being the firstborn. And then they would give the firstborn the blessing, and then that would be like a double portion of all of the inheritance with that. So it is fathomable that Isaac found out perhaps that Esau sold the birthright, and after maybe he might have chewed him out about it, like, "What are you thinking?" Like, "Well, don't worry about it. Later on, we'll do the blessing, and you'll at least have some." Could be. Perhaps that's how that worked out. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, he might have told him. He might
So-
have even told Rebecca.
Could have been.
He could have
Could have been.
told her, and she said, "I'm going to fix this."
Yeah, show you. Yeah. So, in verse 14, and then he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory food, such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the choice clothes of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck, and he gave the savory food and the bread, which she had prepared, into the hands of Jacob, her son. So she went all out, didn't she? She was not going to allow any mistakes to be made. She was leaving nothing to chance. When she concocted this deception, she meant she was going to follow that all the way through, didn't she? Right to the point of putting Esau's choice clothes on Jacob. And you would think, too, if you think about that for a minute, you would think that, so when Esau came in from the field doing the fixing the food, doing all the thing, he put on his good clothes to go see his daddy, wouldn't he? To take it in there, because he's going to get a blessing for this. So he's going to put his good clothes on. She even thought about that, putting on the good clothes. Once deceit starts, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, Dad. It turns, it's like, I remember we used to, when we would be watching cartoons on Saturday morning or something, they would make this snowball and they'd run it down the hill, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's exactly what happens right here. This is we sometimes refer to the snowball effect. Well, that's what that means, is it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and pretty soon you can't stop it. So we went to his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done just as you told me. Please arise, sit, and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me." Now, was Jacob all in or what?
He's all in.
He's all in.
Lie number one.
Yep,
Looks to me like the father could have recognized the difference in the voice to me.
he did. He did.
Yeah.
We're gonna see that in just a second, that he did.
But right there, it looks like right then he would have shut him down.
Yeah. And you know, here's the thing. Let me wait, because we're going to get to that. We are. Isaac said to his son, "How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son?" Look what Jacob said. "Because the Lord your God brought it to me." Not only is he going to lie, not only is he going to be in this deception, but he's going to make it God's fault. Now, what do you think about that?
Well, it's probably God's plan, I guess. He knew it.
Well, it was probably known, at least to some point, that it was in God's plan for Isaac to be made into a great nation. I'm not sure to what extent Jacob knew, and
Like what it says right here, okay, like Ms. Barbara said about the forest. I can put question marks right there. But what did Jacob say? Come near, that might feel.
yeah, we fixing to see that. So all right, we done lied, and we done tried to make God part of it too. Now, Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come near that I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob went near to Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. Then he said, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he said, "What? I am."
Lies again.
He just can't quit lying, can he? That's about what, the third one?
I got number 2 and 24 is line number 3.
So
But the whole thing was a lie.
it was. It was an absolute ruse, the whole thing. It was one big lie. So they got to have all these little lying parts to make the big lie. It's kind of like,
Takes a lot to cover up a lie.
and then you got to figure out what the lie was the last time you lied. With how can you make that lie better? So, that's how that lying works. So, but the way this whole thing set forth here was kind of like when I went through instructor school many years ago, before I started teaching at the fire department. We had what we called a terminal performance objective. That's what you want to accomplish. And then, in order to get to that terminal performance objective, you have what's called enabling objectives, the things that you're going to use to get to there. So the whole big thing was the terminal performance objective. We go in to secure this blessing for Jacob. The enabling objectives were, we're going to lie. We're going to lie some more. And we're going to lie again. And again and again. And he said, "Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's game, so that my soul may bless you." So he brought it near to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, come near now, and kiss me, my son." And he came near, and he kissed him. And he smelled the smell of his clothing, and blessed him, and said, "Surely the smell of my son is like the smell of a field which the Lord has blessed." So he had the food that came, that he loved, that Rebekah was able to make taste like the game. He felt the hands, the neck, and I think the thing that did it was he smelled the clothes, as he could smell Esau's scent on them clothes. So I think that was like, so you got to be thinking, but it's Jacob's voice.
Well, I've never been blind, okay?
Right.
And I don't know how it feels to be blind, you know? And I would give
I think you're right, Tony. He did.
I'm not saying that.
He at least asked some questions.
But old Rebecca really had it.
She had it. She had this thing planned out, and she had it planned out good. Yeah. But they gonna get some comeuppance later on. You can make no mistake about that. All right, so now the blessing. Therefore, may God give you of the dew of heaven, of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brethren, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be those who bless you. It's a blessing.
That was a pretty good blessing.
It's a pretty good blessing.
Because it was an oral thing, and that's the way it was back then.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say, well, the lawyer didn't sign off on it or whatever.
Yeah.
And I take it back. That's not the way it works.
Yeah, there wasn't no taking that back. I mean, it was just,
Once it was said,
it was done. That was exactly right.
That's one thing can't be taken back is word. Once they out, they out.
You're right. You're right, Mike. But when they're, you can try to take things back, but a lot of times it's like trying to put toothpaste back in the tube. It just don't work good, does it? So now, not only has Jacob got the birthright, he's got the blessing now. Now it happened as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. He also had made savory food, and brought it to his father, and said to his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that your soul may bless me. Uh-oh. And Jacob got out just in the nick of time too, didn't he? Verse 32. And his father Isaac said to him, who are you? So he said, I am your son, your firstborn, Esau. Then Isaac trembled exceedingly and said, who? Where is the one who hunted game and brought it to me? I ate all of it before you came, and I have blessed him, and indeed he shall be blessed. So we see here there's no taking this back. There's no saying, oh, I made a mistake. I blessed the wrong guy. I'm going to take it back. Come on in, son, and we'll fix this. No, that's not how that worked. But it's out now, ain't it? The whole thing. When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, bless me also, O my father. Now, Esau don't get off scot-free. You might ask, well, why? He's the one that's been done wrong. Why is it that all of a sudden Esau thought so much of this blessing when not long ago. He's like, I don't care about this birthright. This don't mean nothing to me. What changed? What?
Ken, the blessing is pretty solid. I mean, man, it gives you about everything you're set up for the rest of your life.
You right. You said.
I don't know how birthright could be better.
I don't understand the difference. Can somebody explain the blessing and the birthright? I mean, what is the?
Let's see what this says here.
The oldest is supposed to get all the inheritance.
Okay, well, that's kind of the blessing too. I mean,
So let me find this spot right here. I had looked at this earlier. So this blessing was actually, I think it was the blessing where they would actually get at least up to a double portion of what all of the inheritance was.
I thought the way that it went is, the blessings went to, got twice as much on the
Yeah.
on the one that was the first born, and the rest of them got just one, just a single.
Yeah, I mean everybody would.
birthright was just came out first.
Yeah, with the birthright and the blessing, you got the full deal. You get part of it with the birthright, and the rest of what you were going to get with that blessing. And then of course you would, I think with the blessing here, you would be. He was set up as the head of the family, the patriarch of the family. That was the way that passed down.
But then what had happened?
Yeah, and that normally would have been the oldest.
Seed had not happened.
Yeah, so, but regardless, this blessing was a big deal. And yes, Esau did. He thought more about it this time, didn't he?
Yeah.
But he said, your brother came with deceit and has taken away your blessing. Isaac knew what had happened this time, didn't he? And Esau said, is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times, and he took away my birthright, and now he has taken away my blessing. And he said, have you not reserved a blessing for me? Now I want to go back up here a minute. Yeah, Jacob tricked him the first time, but Esau was complicit in that, wasn't he? With the birthright. Esau went along with that. This was not a blind trick played on him, kind of like this was. Esau knew what was going the first time. He's like, I don't care about that. I'm about to die anyway. I'm hungry. Give me something to eat. But maybe as time went on and he thought about things a little more, he began to maybe mature a little more. And it's like, I shouldn't have done that. Now, how many times do you see people when, like in a situation like this, instead of Esau taking responsibility for what he did, he's like, yeah, here, it's yours, have it. I don't need it. Just give me a bowl of soup. That's all I need. He became the victim now, didn't he? How many times do you see that play out? every day. We won't take responsibility for what we do. It's always somebody else's fault. Isn't that what we see going on?
Kingdom of God's is what he says.
Yeah.
And that's terrible.
Yeah. Then Isaac answered and said to Esau, Indeed, I have made him your master, and all his brethren I have given to him as servants. With grain and wine I have sustained him. What shall I do now for you, my son? And Esau said to his father, Have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. So now it meant something. Then Isaac his father answered and said to him, Behold, your dwelling shall be of the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. And it shall come to pass, when you become restless, that you shall break his yoke from your neck. So there was a promise that Esau's descendants would break that yoke. And that I think that was what played out in the latter part of 2nd Chronicles, when Edom gained its independence from Judah. So Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him, and Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand, then I will kill my brother Jacob. And the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, Surely your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you by intending to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, arise, flee to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him a few days until your brother's fury turns away, until your brother's anger turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved of both of you in one day? Now, look what she says to Isaac. And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife of the daughters of Heth, like those who were the daughters of the land, what good is my life to me? So she's playing the victim now too. And of course we're going to see next week how that part of that plays on out, what's going to happen. But what we see here is we see the deceit. We see how the deceit played out. And they thought, Jacob and Rebekah thought they had something, didn't they? But really, in reality, all they had was heartache, wasn't it? And that's the things that happen when we set forth to deceive and deceive our way into getting what we want. We're going to get some point what we deserve. It'll play back out to us sooner or later. It's going to happen. And that's the thing we see being set up right here. We're going to see all this playing out in chapters to come. So, God's plan is going to come to fruition regardless of what we do. And we need to know that He don't need our help, that He's perfectly capable of doing His plan. But we're humans, ain't we? And sin's in the world. So, all right, well, it's time to stop. Thank y'all for being here this morning, and we'll pick up with the next chapter next week.